Hey, good afternoon, fabulous people. Happy snow day. I have been quiet for a while, have not made any great updates or any updates at all in quite a while. So now it is time to spill the tea and tell y'all all the things that have gone on, what's going on with my hike, what's going on with life in general, and random things that fall into my mind along the way. So stay tuned and buckle up, it's gonna be a ride. Okay, first of all, yes, these are my warm fuzzy pajamas. There is tons of ice outside, it's cold, it's windy, and I am hunkering down and curling up in piles of warmth today. So yeah, this is as good as it gets today, y'all. So, sorry, not sorry. All right, so to give everyone a recap in case you're just finding my channel or have been away for a while, let me give you the recap. So, a year ago this month, actually, last January, I found out I was awarded a partial scholarship through the fabulous organization One More Day on the Appalachian Trail. This partial scholarship was meant to go towards the cost of a through hike on the Appalachian Trail from Georgia to Maine. I found out in January and I started hiking in March. The reason I am hiking the Appalachian Trail is in support of, in honor of, and to bring awareness to survivors of domestic violence and child abuse. Because I have survived all of that myself, and I was given the opportunity to hike as a way of encouraging others, showing others that no matter what kind of background you've come from, no matter what kind of hardship you have faced and overcome, it is possible to achieve your dreams, no matter what tries to derail you along the way. So I started hiking in March. Now, before this, I had section hiked the Appalachian Trail, a lot of it. The first 170 miles, give or take a mile or two, up through and including Fontana Dam. I stopped just short of the Smokies. Where Fontana Dam ends before it goes into the Great Smokies, that's where I stopped. I have done that basically one weekend or a week at a time over the past several years. So, and I live in Georgia, so I've hiked sections of Georgia many times. Always been able to do 6, 8, 10 miles a day. Might take me forever because I'm slow, but I know for a fact I'm capable of doing 6, 8, 10 miles a day. But when I went out there in March, my body decided, no, we're not doing this. For some insane reason, I wasn't able to do more than 3 or 4 miles a day, which for the first couple days, first week, that would have been okay. You know, just getting into the swing of things, whatever, even though it was unusual for me, I wasn't too stressed out about it. But then as I kept going, that was all I could do. And I was freaking out. I'm like, what the heck? I had, before starting the trail, I had some issues with sciatica, which generally went away the more I walked, like back in what they call real life, which is really fake life. Real life is the trail. But movement helped with the sciatica, so I wasn't particularly worried about it. Unfortunately, while I was out there, it kept getting worse. And I didn't really realize how bad it was until one day I got up and like my lower left leg was just numb. Not that I didn't have feeling, but it was like pins and needles, just like when your hand falls asleep or your arm falls asleep, your leg falls asleep when you sit on it wrong. So I was used to having stabbing pains in my leg from the sciatica. So it was a little weird, but I thought, well, I just slept on it wrong. It's no big deal. So kept plodding along day after day, going in and out of hostels way more than I ordinarily would, because of weather, because of my health, because of different things. Yeah, and it wasn't getting better. I would be walking along and all of a sudden my leg would be numb. Not that it wasn't functional. I could still walk, no problem, but it was just weird. And I knew it wasn't normal, and I knew it wasn't right. So on my 3rd week in, I got off trail to, take care of some things that had popped up back home, and also to attend Holy Week and Easter services at my church. Because our Orthodox Easter generally doesn't line up with the rest of the world's Easter. Don't know why. I mean, I know why, but it wasn't important enough for me to remember why. I just know it is what it is, so Anyway, I figured 2 weeks off trail, I will heal up, I will rest up, and then I'll go back. Spoiler alert, I did not go back, because at the end of that 2 weeks, I was no better. And now that I wasn't moving as much, in some ways I was worse. I was in a hell of a lot of pain. So I reached out to the organizers of One More Day on the AT and said, okay, I have this injury that has not gotten better. Can I wait till next year? Just save whatever is left of the scholarship, and which is about half of it. I did some equipment upgrades along the way, and like I said, I was in and out of hostels more than I really planned on being. So I had about a little over half of it left. Can we save it for 26? And they said, absolutely. You're injured. Take care of yourself. We'll see you in a year. Well, guess what? I was a lot more injured than I thought I was. Not only was there the sciatica, it was strongly suspected I had a herniated disc as well, hence the random numbness. Just the beginnings of one, apparently. Did not get an MRI to confirm because that would have been like $600, and that's without insurance. They're strongly suspected. And then the back issues and everything all combined together to make me have something wrong with my hip. It wasn't my hip itself, but it was hip tendinopathy, hip and glute tendinopathy. And that actually turned out to be more painful than anything wrong with my back. I could not sit at all. I could not lay down. I could only walk. And even then, after that, even walking, still extremely painful. Basically, I was a wreck. I figured, a couple months, 2-3 months, I'll be better and can start hiking more and saving more and doing all the things. Y'all, I got 2 jobs. Got 2 jobs. First job I got was working as a grill cook at Maryland Fried Chicken there in Toccoa. I got that job for 2 reasons. One, basically that's the only job I could get. I had given my resume to every lawyer in and around Toccoa. None of them were hiring. And 2, at that point, back in March and April last year, I couldn't have handled a desk job then. I could not sit. I couldn't drive. Door dashing was out. Walmart delivering was out. Anything requiring a prolonged sitting was out. It just wasn't possible at all. I was in a world of hurt. So I needed a job where I would be very physically active all day, where I'd be up and walking and moving and not standing in one spot, not sitting in one spot, because I knew that was going to be kind of built-in physical therapy for me. So I got the job at Maryland as a grill cook. And then I also had a second job for about 3 months, working for a little outdoor shop and clothing boutique in downtown Toccoa. Now, every dime of that second job went to pay for my medical care. Every last dime. I would work at Maryland Fried Chicken from 4:30 in the morning till about 10:30 in the morning. Then from noon till 6 at my second job. And I did that. I worked at the chicken place 6 days a week. I worked at the store, let's see, I think it was Tuesday, Wednesday, 5 days a week. And it was a lot. It was a lot, but it was the only thing I could do to survive and get some kind of treatment. So for several months, for those 3 months, I put every dime toward medical treatment, and I would go to a chiropractor twice a week, and I would go to a physical therapist once a week. And he would do dry needling on my hip, which was painful but worked. And he would also give me physical therapy exercises to do. All in all, my medical care alone cost a minimum of $225 a week, sometimes more. More if you include the supplements I had to get, the different things I had to buy, you know, back braces and ice packs and whatever, and being super careful about what I eat. Because anything with carbs or anything with sugar that I'm not supposed to have anyway causes inflammation that makes the whole thing worse. So I used that money all the way up through the end of September. Every dime I had made from the second job, through the end of September, was treating my back. And it wasn't until close to the end of September that I finally started to be in less pain. Not pain-free, not able to handle sitting for long periods of time, not not able to get up and down easily. It still was very difficult for me to roll over in bed at night because of the hip tendinopathy. It was just excruciatingly painful. And there were times when I would drive to work at 4:30, at 4 o'clock in the morning. It was only a 10-minute drive to work. And I'd be screaming and sobbing the whole way there. There was a couple times I came this close to diverting to the ER because I was in so much pain just from sitting in the car for 10 minutes to get to work. So it wasn't until September that I actually started to feel better. Less pain, able to function, felt stronger. I was able to start hiking again, although working 6 days a week, that didn't happen very often. However, I did manage to do a one-night trip at Woody Gap one Saturday after work. I was able to backpack up to Preacher Rock, set up my tent, stay the night, and hike back down. That wasn't a very far hike, like 1.5 miles one way, so 3 miles round trip. Was not a very long hike, was not a very difficult hike, but it was the first time I had carried a pack in literally 8 months at that point. And it was a success. I was able to hike up, set up my tent, sleep in my tent, take down my tent, hike back to my car in the morning, no problems. I was a little extra stiff the couple days afterwards, but not that much worse than usual. So, thank God. I thought, great. Thank God I am fixed enough I can get back into the swing of things. So, end of September, I stopped medical treatment, and starting in October, I was saving every spare dime for the trail. I planned my start date for the trail. I have scheduled for March 29th. My plan was to start at Dix Creek Gap toward the end of Georgia, go north, and then if I made it to Maine, I would do Georgia last, going southbound. Because I've done Georgia 11 billion times at this point over the past several years, and my little ADHD brain was like, oh God, we gotta do that again? We've been here before. We've seen it. We want to see new, shiny things. So the plan was to start at the end of Georgia and hike north at the end of March. That was the plan. And, excuse me, y'all. Sorry about that. And I had 6 months, 6 full months to save. So with me working 45 to 50 hours a week at the chicken place and supplementing with DoorDash and Walmart occasionally, I didn't want to do it too much because it turns out being in the car 8 to 12 hours a day, 5, 6, 7 days a week, is what messed up my back in the first place. So I wanted to keep the driving to a minimum. But I figured that between October 1 and the end of March, I could still save up a good bit of money. Because I was, renting a room and didn't really have that many bills other than that. So I could save at least $600-700 a month for 6 months. And while that wouldn't have necessarily been enough to do the entire trail, with what I had left of the scholarship and what I saved, it could get me pretty dang far, right? So that was the plan, and I was going along just great. Saved everything in October, halfway through November, I've got about $1,200-1,300 saved. And then I had a $600 car repair, because of course I did. The windshield wiper motor in my car had started acting up about a year ago. Sometimes it would work, sometimes it wouldn't, you never know. But it decided to completely die finally, so there was no getting around it. And then I needed a couple new tires already. So altogether, that took half my savings. But I wasn't stressed. I was like, okay, no big deal. I still have, 5.5 months to go. I can just keep saving and it's going to be fine. Spoiler alert, it was not fine. Because about mid-November, it turned out that suddenly I had to move. It had nothing to do with me. It was a circumstance beyond my control. Just the person I was renting a room from had some things going on in their life that did not make it conducive for them to have a roommate. I mean, now granted, I was never there, and when I was there, I was asleep. But still, I basically had to leave. So that kind of threw me into a panic, because I only had at that point about $600-700 left. And that's not enough money for a deposit. That's not enough money to, rent an apartment on my own. I mean, heck, working at the chicken place, there's no place I could afford my own apartment. So I was kind of in a panic. Like, where the heck what am I gonna do? So I put out a plea on Facebook. Hey, anybody knows, of someone who's got a room for rent? And oh, by the way, I'll be there for a while, and then I'm disappearing for several months, and then I'll come back. So, a lot of random people are not going to be okay with that, right? But thankfully, thank God, literally, one of my hiker friends rents out rooms in their house, and they had one room open, and said, hey, we're kind of looking, usually we rent out to college students, but we're kind of hoping for somebody good and long-term. So if you're interested in living in Athens, then, come check it out and see if you're interested. Well, quite frankly, Athens is a lot closer to Atlanta than I ever had any desire to be. That said, it is still a good 60 miles from Atlanta, so it's not country, but it's also not Atlanta. And it's a very cute, quirky town. Again, it's not as remote as living in the backwoods, but it's pretty cool. So after looking at a bunch of different options that fell into my lap, I decided that, okay, I will come to Athens. So December 6th, December 7th, one of those days, I moved down here to Athens. Now, of course, that took the last of my money, between paying the first month's rent, extra gas getting to and from, because for the week before I moved, I was going from Toccoa to Athens and back again, taking a load of stuff down here every day after work. So gas and eating out a lot because I was traveling a lot, paying rent, and then buying things I needed. Like, I had to buy furniture. Thank God for Black Friday sales. I couldn't do the thrift store thing because I have a Fiat. Nothing fits in the Fiat. And paying for delivery, super expensive. So I went on Amazon and I got cheap stuff, Black Friday sale, whatever. It's going to take me about a year to pay it all off. Hopefully less. I got the lowest payment that a firm would give. So in theory, I can pay it off a lot sooner. But I had to get a cheap dresser and a cheap twin bed and a cheap bookshelf and a cheap desk. just because I didn't have any of that. All I had were my clothes. So some stuff I was able to pay for outright. A lot of it, like I said, will take 8 to 12 months to finish paying off, but I had to. So yeah, so I landed in Athens. But the problem is now, my savings were gone. Completely erased. Back down to nothing. Now, had this happened a significantly longer time period ago, it would be something I could come back from. But there is no way on God's green earth, from December to the end of March, for me to save up the kind of money needed to even attempt a through hike, right? Because the $1,600 or $1,700 I have left of the scholarship, you know, that covers on-trail expenses, so I could be good for a couple months on-trail. But that would not cover my expenses back home. You know, the rent, the car insurance, the furniture payments, those things, you know, I could not pay my phone, things like that. There was basically that move basically killed my hike for 2026. There was just no coming back from it financially. And it was so frustrating because literally over the past 6 weeks, I reached a point where now I'm 99% pain-free. I can walk, I can drive, I can sit, I can get up and down out of bed. I've been able to get back to my DDP yoga workouts with no problem. I'm nearly pain-free. The arthritis is still annoying in the morning, but it goes away once I'm moving. That's the thing that's always going to be there. So, you know, it's not crippling. It's just there. So it's very frustrating that now I am finally physically ready, mentally was in a good spot and ready to do it. And then the money went away. And the rug was ripped out from under me, completely unexpectedly with no warning. I had 3 weeks to find a place to live. So financially, emotionally, mentally, that all took a terrible toll. So I reached out to the One More Day people again and explained what happened and said, you know, the rug got pulled out from under me. I can't even do a section hike. I don't have the money to stay out for a month, much less 6. And even though they absolutely did not have to do this, in no way, shape, or form were they obligated to do this, they granted me one last extension. One last extension. I have until 2027 to start my hike. So I can start my hike in 2027 with that grant money that they are holding for me. Now, they did not have to do that. They could have been like, well, you didn't use it in the time allotted, so, okay, thanks, bye, better luck next time. But they didn't do that. Good people, beautiful people. I adore them. Absolutely adore these people. So my hike, the announcement, all that to say this, my hike is not going to start March 29th, 2026. My hike is going to start in March 2027. So now I have a full 13 months to save and to hike and to train and to do all the things. So that's a win. Now, for the next part of this story, oh yes, but wait, there's more. So for the first, I guess, almost 8 weeks I lived here in Athens, 6-8 weeks, I think, I was driving back and forth between Athens and Toccoa every day, 6 days a week, to work at the chicken place. That's an hour drive. I would have to leave here at 3:45 a.m. every day, 6 days a week, and work until about 10:30 or 11, and then drive the hour back. So, of course, with my paychecks and stuff. At this point, I wasn't even breaking even. I was coming up negative every week because that's a long drive for not a lot of money. And of course, I moved in December 6th, December 7th. Trying to find a local job was just not happening. Not happening because it was so close to Christmas. I figured, close to Christmas, I won't have any trouble finding a job. Well, I was wrong. That happens a lot. I'm wrong a lot about a lot of things. But after Christmas, about 3 weeks ago, I actually found a job here in Athens. Another breakfast place, cooking scrambled eggs and omelets and breakfast sandwiches and all the things, working actually at a coffee shop. Now, y'all know, I love my coffee. Coffee is my blood type. I'm a caffeine-based life form, right? So me working at a coffee shop, heck yeah, winning. So I put in my 2 weeks notice at Maryland, worked my 2 weeks notice, and I started at new place a week ago. I just finished my first week there. Now, in the meantime, behind the scenes, I have had my paralegal resume floating around on Indeed, on, LinkedIn, on all the job websites, floating around literally for the past year and a half. Even though several months ago I wouldn't have been able to work as a paralegal because I couldn't sit, now I'm good. I'm fine now. Right, thank God. So I've had my resume floating around for a couple years now almost. And occasionally I would get an interview here and there randomly, and I was never hired. They're like, oh, you haven't been working as a paralegal in a year. Or, why did you leave your last job to move to the sticks? Or whatever. And I hate to say it too, but ageism is kind of a real thing. And no, I refuse to dye my hair. I like my hair. I'm not going to try to look younger to get a job. Yeah, I know that's the conventional wisdom I should, but I'm not, because I like my hair. The silver is pretty. It's nicer now than it was in my 20s. So no, we're not doing that. I routinely, side quest, I routinely have girls in their 20s ask me how I got my hair this color, because they're trying to get it that color, and they're going to salons and bleaching it and dyeing it and trying to get it silver. And they're like, who did you go to? I said, time. I ignored. I don't do anything to it. I ignore it, and it does this. It's just get old and you'll be fine. Nobody believes this is my real color, but it is. So anyway, so the ageism, kind of did work against me in a lot of scenarios. Not every scenario, but a lot. So for 18 months, I've been trying to get a job back in the law office somewhere. And especially now that I'm not hiking in 26, now that I'm not leaving in a month, right? I just started throwing my resume out there. I get started actually going on Indeed and sending my resume to potential employers, to try to find something, since now I do have a whole 13 months and I don't really like waking up before dawn. I just don't. I love to cook, but I don't necessarily want to do that for the next 30 years. I mean, I will if I need to, but weekend, 6 days a week, no weekends, lower pay. I have a thing to save for. So I just, randomly here and there started sending out my resume again. And a week ago, 2 weeks ago now, I had an interview, a video interview with a firm. I thought it went okay, but not great. I just didn't get good vibes from it. And of course, they never called me back. I'm like, meh, whatever. Same song, different verse, whatever. And last week that we just finished, I got an email from another law firm It's in Commerce, actually. It's about 20 miles from here, 30 minutes from here. I drove through Commerce every day, driving between Athens and Toccoa. And they're like, hey, come in for an interview, like a real live in-person interview. So I scheduled the interview for Wednesday at 4 o'clock. And I got home from work around 1, got the shower, did the makeup, did the hair, did the things, put on the nicest outfit I have, which frankly I don't have a lot of good office clothes anymore. Because basically I'm in jeans and a t-shirt 6 days a week now, which I hate, honestly. Dresses are so much more comfortable. Anyway, put on the nicest thing that I have, which, like I said, wasn't great, but worked. And I went to this interview. The interview went really freaking well. Like, I really clicked with this firm, and the paralegal and the attorney who interviewed me, it just felt right. There was good chemistry, good connection, good vibes. I felt very, very comfortable there. And I thought, okay, well, that interview went well. And I emailed off my standard little thank you note, as one does. Didn't think anything of it. Just, okay, another interview. We'll see. Friday, I'm on my way home from coffee shop, and I get a call from the lawyer. We'd like to offer you a job. Do you accept? Here's the salary. Yes. 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 Did I mention yes? So the job I have been at for 1 week at this fabulous coffee shop. It's called Sam and Joe's, by the way, in Watkinsville. Please go there. They are great people, and they have a great cook. Well, they have a great cook for the next 2 weeks. Right. So I've been there a week, and I'm like, hey, guys, I've been here a week, but I already got to put in my 2 weeks notice. I'm so sorry. I felt so bad. Like, I genuinely did not expect to get hired somewhere else, especially not this soon. This surprised me as much as it surprised y'all. Sorry. But yes, I have put in my 2 weeks notice, and I am cooking for the next 2 weeks. And then the day before my birthday, I start my new job as a paralegal at a law firm about 30 minutes from here. And it is Monday to Friday. It's 8 to 5. There's not overtime, or at least very rarely. It's at a nice little cubicle. They have heat. They have air conditioning. It's great. Now, don't get me wrong. Working for a law firm is stressful. So is working at a grill. They're both stressful. Just one of them is a bit more climate controlled than the other. So that is my update. So the bad news is I'm not hiking in 2026. The good news is I am hiking in 2027. The good news is I got a job here in Watkinsville, about 15 minutes from home, as a grill cook. The better news is I am back in my chosen career field of being a paralegal again for the first time in almost 2 years. So winning. Now, of course, now my brain is anxious about my hike because, yes, now, barring any crazy emergencies, I have no worries whatsoever about being able to save up the money I need for my hike. Renting a room, paying off my furniture, which, quite frankly, it's all less than $1,000. Much less than $1,000 for the furniture I got. It might be like $600 total, maybe. I can pay it off in less than a year now, thankfully. I'll be able to save for my hike and have, emergency savings and all that. So as long as nothing screwy happens, as long as my car lives another year, as long as I don't have any weird medical things happen, God willing, please God, I can save for my hike fairly easily. Knock on all the wood, please God. Of course, now, obviously I didn't mention the hike to them because it's 13 months from now. I don't know that they are going to allow me, being a new employee, leave of absence to go do this hike at the end of the year. I say end of the year, I mean March 2027, 13 months from now. See, my brain, my year goes from hiking season to hiking season. So right now when I say end of the year, I mean end of non-hiking year 26 and beginning of hiking year 27. I don't know if they will accept that, if they will be okay with that, or if I will have to leave. I don't know. I am hoping, but it is a small farm, and they need people. So I'm not going to mention it to them yet, unless they find my YouTube channel. Hi, guys. Because it's a year and anything can happen in a year. As I get closer to, I will start discussing it with them. So it may end up that a year, 13 months from now, I might have to walk away from that job, which I definitely don't want to do because it is a great job for a very decent salary. I mean, certainly not rich, but compared to grill cook, all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, I can like breathe and like work a job. Yay, instead of like 2 or 3. Oh my God. So I don't know how that is going to play out. But I am trying to take my wise priest's advice. Thank you, Father Anthony. He told me a couple weeks ago, don't worry about really any of it. Leave it in God's hands. Do the best you can with what you've got. And trust that God is working all things out for your good and for your salvation. And you will get on your trail, but don't obsess over how. And of course, y'all know me. I am an epic overthinker. I'm like the queen of overthinking and planning and having backup plans and all the things. So not having the entire next year figured out gives me anxiety. But you know what? Next year doesn't exist yet. Last year doesn't exist anymore. All we have is right now, this minute. All I can worry about is right now. So taking my good priest's advice, and also, you know, what I've learned from the peace monks walking across America, I am just going to breathe, and I'm going to pray, and I'm going to work hard, and I'm going to make a conscious decision to trust God with this hike. Because as far as I'm concerned, I'm still hiking. Not hiking is not an alternative for me. I was entrusted with this grant for a specific reason. And it's not because, oh, I just want to go hike, this is going to be fun. They have given me this grant for a mission to hike on behalf of domestic abuse survivors. And to show that no matter what obstacles come your way, you can overcome them. One step at a time, one breath at a time. And Lord knows the universe has sure been showing me, here, have another obstacle. Here's another one, here's another one, here's another one. Here, I'm going to try to derail you in every way possible. I refuse to quit. I'm not going to do it. This hike is everything. And it's not just for me, it's for so many people, right? Because if somebody as messed up as me, and as random and ridiculous as me, can go out there on the trail and get however far I get, please God, let it be Maine, then guess what? So can you. No dream, no goal is impossible. You just gotta be stubborn and creative and flexible and keep going no matter what happens, right? Improvise, adapt, and overcome. Embrace the suck and use it to your advantage, okay? This crappy situation isn't going anywhere. I'm going to use it for all it's worth and learn everything I can from it, right? That's how we gotta be. And that's why I'm hiking. So, not just for me, not just because I love the trail, not just because I love my hikers, not just because I love nature and hate the city. It's to try to be a little bit of a ridiculous, quirky little light bopping around out there on the trail, showing people that if you have the audacity to dream and the stubbornness to keep going, magic can happen, miracles can happen. So that's where I am. I am not where I thought I'd be. I'm not even where I wanted to be, but I am where the Lord has placed me for reasons known only to Him. So follow along, y'all. I am going to be hiking every week once I start my new job. I am going to be doing a lot more videos. We are going to go on this journey of preparing for the trail together. So y'all hang out and join along, because this is an epic adventure. Y'all have a great day. Stay warm. And remember, live, love, hike. I will see y'all on the trail. Oh, and I'm going to be doing trail magic this year too again. I don't know how, I don't know when, but I'm going to do trail magic again. So I'm going to see y'all out there. Bye for now.